dude. The more eyes to see us, the better. We're not famous yet.
Yeah.
All right, one sec. Get this shit on. Intro. We'll just intro it now. We'll just intro now for the peeps who don't make it live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Joyage Kingdom. I'm Kate, your guide. I'll be replacing the voice center. Oh, wow. Let's redo that. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Joyage Kingdom. I'm Kate, your guide. I'll be replacing the little voice center for now, giving you a break from the constant internal monologue that is the human mind. I want to say the first, thank you for listening or viewing on whatever platform you're on. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. Today, I'm joined by NFT Donut. I don't know if you doxed your full name. Like, I know you told me, but I don't know if you did it online yet. But
yeah, I haven't fully doxed. I've been thinking about it. But you can just call me Caleb. That's my real name. My parents didn't actually name me Donut.
Yeah. But yeah, he's an NFT YouTuber, software dev. He's got a lot of thoughts toward the NFT market and the blockchain world, and I want to talk about it too. So we're going to talk about a lot of things, talking about content creation, NFTs, blockchain, software development. There's a whole lot of things I wrote on this little notepad here. But the first thing I wanted to actually start with was I saw you had SupDucks Toad in your YouTube channel, your banner on your YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
You and the ducks.
I'm not, that's like the only part of the SupDucks ecosystem that I have is that little frog.
Nice.
Honestly, I kind of like bought him compulsively because I thought he looked pretty chill. So I threw him up on my banner. I probably won't keep it there forever. But yeah, I just think he looks cool. So
he does, bro. I fucking love the Ducks. The Ducks are one of my favorite communities. For me, I honestly just like don't have time to like spend time in Discords, which you've also probably seen. Like, do you spend time in any Discords really?
Yeah,
if you're not trading.
A few. I have my own Discord. It's super small, but I kind of like to use that as just like a networking platform, and just like a place where people who are interested in Web3 and NFTs can basically make friends, build relationships, and and then like from time to time, I guess I'll share alpha. I have a few people in there that make some alpha calls, but it's all like it's pretty laid back. And then a couple other Discords. I really like the NFT Academy. So Brett and Crypto Brando, that's one of their projects. And then so I spent some time in there.
What goes on in there? Because I know the guys over there, but I don't know anything about the NFT Academy really.
Yeah, I like it. It's so the primary focus for a while has been like education on how to build and launch an NFT project. But lately it's shifted more towards the like the NFT agency side of things. So how you would go about developing an agency. I think there's massive opportunity there to onboard new people and businesses into the Web3 space and figuring out ways to implement Web3 technology like NFTs into those businesses to improve their efficiency. And and I think that's a good move for the NFT Academy. And I think that's where we're seeing the most opportunity right now, in my opinion. I don't think launching another profile picture project, I think it certainly can work right now, but it's just, I think there are bigger opportunities elsewhere.
Are you interested in making an agency? Is that why you're in there?
Yeah, I've thought about it. It's a big commitment, but like I've always loved just building things, and I think I have a bit of an entrepreneurial mindset that taking that path sounds really interesting to me. But I'm not entirely sure if that's what I want to do quite yet. I'm kind of in a weird like transition in my life.
How old are you?
Where I'm 25.
Okay, so I'm 24, so we're right around the same age.
Nice. You just turned 24. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you, dude. It's a good time. I didn't do too much. I really like my day-to-day right now. I mean, I love streaming. Like, obviously, like right now we're streaming. It's like my favorite thing to fucking do. And I don't know. I set up my life to where like my day-to-day doesn't suck so much as it used to. And I was chill,
Yeah.
just having a normal last day. Get like an iced coffee, got a Chipotle, a fat burrito, got all the chips, got all the guac. I never
Wow.
ball out like that. So
Yeah, you're living the life now. That's a luxury.
it
I'm
was,
not
dude. It was.
Yeah, that's the goal. Like I'd like to be able to get Chipotle, every day. That'd
Do
be
you I was gonna ask, do you use any kind of like maybe like a manifestation technique or something? I don't know what you would call it. Like for me, every now and then not every now and then, every single day, I'll like sit in my chair or something, or I'll be my little beanbag behind me, and I'll like visualize like a distant future, but not something that I'm like I need to have. It's just like, oh, that would be sick. Like maybe I can manifest this, of where I'm like
Mhm.
sitting in you know those like super nice modern homes with like white ceramic and like marble countertops, like all this like beautiful shit, and I'm just like, my God, dude, what if I was just in like a beautiful, like the top floor of like a huge building in this city, and I'm like, I have like wall to the ceiling to the wall, ceiling to the floor, windows or something, and like I just visualize stuff like that, and
Yeah,
I'm like, that would be
yeah.
sick. Not that that's what I need to be for successful, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Do you use any things like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's been this trend towards like I guess people do call it manifestation. I think a lot of there's a lot of confusion there in terms of definitions. Like, what does manifestation actually mean? I think
Mm,
everyone probably defines it a little differently. So I wouldn't say that I sit down and picture myself in any. I think there's a lot of power in that. Like, kind of that helps you like redefine yourself and develop a mindset that can help you get to that point. But I think actually getting to that point more so comes from planning and action. And I guess you could consider manifestation like part of that planning phase. So in that sense, yeah, maybe I do manifest a little bit. I don't do it in like the sit down and meditate sense, but
like the hippie shit.
I try to create plans and like I'm not the type of person that I don't really want a lot of things. I try to actually cut out like as much unnecessary stuff from my life as possible. So like I don't have dreams of living in like a big house or having a nice car. I just want to like have real quality relationships and like just love my family and the people around me as best as I can. And so I don't know if it really requires manifestation to achieve those things.
Yeah, yeah,
I also do like I want to just feel fulfilled with my work and what I do on a daily basis. So I think lately I've been more focused on just kind of like what you were talking about, how like just like the quality of life improvements like Chipotle, just trying to make the day to day more
yeah.
fulfilling. And the interesting thing about that, it's kind of ironic, but a lot of people who are chasing after happiness, a lot of the times in order to do that, they're doing things that are actually leading uh, to long-term sadness, depression. And so like my goal isn't so much to chase after happiness. I don't think that's the point
Mhm.
of life. I think life is supposed to be meaningful, and I think that comes through relationships and even sadness and joy. So it's
Yeah,
yeah, and that was a bit of a rant, but that's just kind of like a bit of the mindset shift I've been having lately.
yeah, for
Um,
sure. No, I love that. I love that. I think for me, honestly, the idea with that big, like the big modern room with all the space. What's interesting to me is it's not so much the clean, nice, expensive shit. It's more. So I don't know how much you know about my last couple of years, but I lived in a car like a
yeah,
year ago. I was in my parents' house like a few months, 2 or 3 months ago. Actually, I was just there for like 8 months.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the idea for me to be able to, and this is like a theme in my entire life, but I always felt like I was like the walls not were closing in, but the walls were just tighter than I would have liked, and I felt like I was
right,
always kind of like trying to like explode out. And so for me,
yeah,
like I want and I just like crave space and that's like physical space sometimes. Like for me, like the idea of having a huge open like atrium is something like, even if that's not that expensive, like that would just be like so freeing for me to have like a big office room with just a bunch of space. So I can kind of just like have it, not even like, I don't even need to use it, but it's just like the fact that I have it, like for example, I have a loft above me, and the
Yeah.
loft has like my bed and like literally nothing else. Like I don't have anything else. Like I don't have a lot of things. So it's just a bed up there and basically a couple of bags and suitcases and shit. But the fact that that space is there makes me feel like comfortable inside or something. I don't even know if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And like, I also don't want to make the impression that I certainly do not have anything against people that have atriums or like nice cars or expensive houses. I think most of those people have worked very hard to get those things, and they deserve that. So like, I'm in no way trying to take like a moral high ground or anything like that. But like, I am like, yeah, this monk, because I don't want to be a monk either. And like, those things would be super cool, and like, I'm not opposed to having those things or an atrium, because that sounds pretty sick, honestly. Yeah. So yeah, it's like, the way I see it is like, those things aren't really my my goals, but if I get to a point in life where I have the resources available to have those things, and it would improve my quality of life and the quality of life of those around me, then I don't see what's stopping me from getting those things. So I think I think that's super cool that you visualize that, and you understand what would make you like feel more comfortable. And I think maybe one day we'll both have atriums, and we'll see.
Let's see what happens, dude. And I know you've got a software background, so the chances of you getting there is faster than me, because software be paying. They pay the bucks, don't they?
Yeah, they do. But nowadays, you probably heard that attention is the real currency. Right. And so grabbing attention, that can open up a lot of opportunities to scale. And it's kind of interesting because when you take the traditional job approach, which has been hard for me, actually, you start off with a baseline salary, but your ability to scale in that environment is capped. So you start off and you have initially you have a higher income than someone who is taking a non-traditional approach. And this is a generalization, of course, but like with what you're doing, you're going to see your growth curve initially is going to be a lot slower. And it might take a while before you start to see that growth. But once you do see the growth, it's often exponential. It just takes a lot longer. So I wouldn't say that like I could make more money than you initially. I mean, like, yes, just based off of demand for skills.
Yeah. It's a hard skill, dude. It's a very hard skill. I took computer science in college. Did not survive all 4 years. I did a year, maybe a year and a half, and I fucking got clobbered, dude. Like, I got clobbered in every single CS class. I got crushed. And my best friend Sasha, shout out Sasha, if I hadn't cheated my way through those classes, I would have absolutely got an F. Here's the sad part. I cheated in all the classes and still got a D. Like, that's how hard that shit is, dude. Like, I couldn't do it. He'd be like, here's the answer. Here's how you get the answer. I'm like, great. I go in and I fail the test.
That's funny. Well, okay. Like, you're not, I got wrecked when I started college.
Did you?
Yeah. And actually my first exposure to programming was in college, which was relatively late compared to the other people in my classes.
Dude. I felt like an idiot.
Yeah. And so I got my degree in electrical engineering, and MATLAB. I don't know if you did any MATLAB, but that was the first exposure to programming I had. And MATLAB has a reputation for just making students' lives miserable. And I can say that it certainly made mine miserable.
Why? What about it?
Well, it was, and MATLAB is a powerful tool, and it's, you can do some cool stuff with it. I think there are other languages like Python can do a lot of what MATLAB does in a much more simple way.
That's what I use.
Yeah, Python's cool.
I don't agree. I hate all of them.
yeah. The syntax on Python is one of its big selling points. Is like it's a lot less complicated than some other languages.
Sure.
But the first programming class I took, because that was a MATLAB class, and then the first programming class I took was C++. That language is known for having a more complicated syntax.
Yeah.
So syntax, for those of you who don't know, that's basically just like the grammar. When you write code, you have to, type things a certain way, using different symbols, and kind of, can make things a bit more complicated if you don't know the syntax. But that's a good first language to learn, because it is relatively complicated in terms of its syntax. So then you can learn other languages much more easily after that. So I haven't used C++, I don't think at all, since after college. I've stuck to other languages like Python, C#, JavaScript. So
do you have any favorites, and like what are the main differences? Because I think so for people who are listening, I did title this. It doesn't say on the restream for some reason, but on YouTube it says something about software development in the title. So there may be some people coming who are interested in the software development. That's why I'm really excited to kind of expand the podcast game, especially in this bear market when there's just more time to be able to make content with people that I want, who have skills and knowledge in areas that I don't have much skill and knowledge at all. And the software development side, the dev side, the back end shit, that's the stuff that people don't really, they want to know, but I feel like not that they're scared to ask. They just I don't know if they really want to know what's going on. And so I feel like this is like a great way to kind of like intro people into like what's actually happening. Like, for example, what in the NFT space, what are people using to code shit, smart contracts and stuff like that, and websites? Like, what are people using?
Yeah. So I would say the biggest, I guess, blockchain specific development and programming has been, generally speaking, smart contracts. And those smart contracts, they're contracts, but written in code. So when a certain series of or set of conditions are met, then that code will execute. So one of the programming language used to code a smart contract on Ethereum is known as Solidity. So I don't know if you've heard of Solidity.
I have.
That is like the most in-demand language for blockchain development. I think you would need to know Rust if you wanted to develop on Solana. I don't know Rust, but I think that language is gaining popularity and is in a pretty high demand as well. But so Solidity is a good language to learn if you want to get
hear a lot
started. If you're writing a smart contract to mint an NFT, you would write that out in Solidity, and then you would deploy that contract to the blockchain, and then that contract can be interacted with from something like a mint website, and you would code that website just like you would any other website, but there are certain libraries that are used to interact with MetaMask and talk to the blockchain. So the front end isn't all that different for Web3. The back end and smart contracts are kind of what is more revolutionary. So and so that's pretty much like a kind of a basic overview of how you would kind of tie together a smart contract and a front end. You use JavaScript typically to talk to the smart contract and call functions, and so read and write data to the smart contract. So
dude, that shit sounds just absolutely horrid if I was to be asked to do that. It actually gives me flashbacks to when my teacher was saying, hey, here's what we got to do. And like walking me the steps. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, what?
You know, so, but like you say like that, I felt the same way in college. And for me, school, like for the most part, I've done pretty well in school, with the exception of my freshman year of college,
Right.
where I got obliterated. And we can talk about that more if you want, but
I definitely want to talk about that. Yeah.
school has been like I've always had a hard time paying attention. I don't know if I have ADHD. If I do, it's I've kind of figured out how to manage it, sort of, and but paying attention in class was never easy for me. So I didn't learn well in the traditional education system. I would do a lot of my learning outside of class. And my advice for anyone who wants to get into programming is to just start building a project, something that you're interested in. And there are a lot of reasons why that's better, in my opinion. But I would say, for one, if you're genuinely interested in whatever you're building, it's just so much easier to keep that motivation to learn. And then the other big reason why jumping into a project, as opposed to just, months of research and learning ahead of time, is when you have a project that you're building, there's so much more context to solidify what you're learning in your brain. And you may not learn as quickly, but I think what you do learn is going to be locked into your memory, and you'll have context for whatever you're learning a lot more than what you would if you were just learning in a classroom environment, or, just watching YouTube videos without applying those skills. And that's from my experience. And, other people may learn differently, but I think the quickest and most efficient way to learn software development, and this probably applies to a lot of other skills as well, but just to jump in and start building a project and learn as you go.
Yeah, I agree. I think contextual learning is way more important for me. That was the reason I died. Matt, so I'm live on TikTok over here. That's why I keep looking over here just to see what people are saying. But why am I shaking my head? I'm on a podcast. It's on YouTube though, so you have to actually go to YouTube to listen to what I'm actually saying. It's on my channel. Just click my link. So contextual learning, for me, is the answer. I feel like anyone who, I don't know, man, if you deny the contextual learning, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Because say you do learn better in school, you're still going to learn better by adding context to what you're doing, and maybe the teacher is really good and they give you a project where you're able to have some freedom on it. But I feel like there's almost nothing better than going after something yourself, which is all my brand is about, like going after yourself and carving the path for yourself. Not even the path less traveled, the path that doesn't fucking exist. Like that's the path that I think everyone should go on, just because there's the most growth in general for life.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I believe in. And so I agree with you there. That's how I learned. That's why I died in that class, because we did fucking projects on just the stupidest shit. I remember we did she wanted us to make some kind of moving Valentine's card on, and it wasn't even Valentine's Day. I remember just being like, what in the fuck are you talking about? It was like, you have to shoot this arrow and code the thing. I was just like, oh my God, I want to die. And I was just watching YouTube fitness videos. But okay, so I want to hear a little bit about your schooling. I want to hear about this freshman obliteration. And give me 2 seconds. I'm going to grab a Celsius drink. My fridge is literally 5 feet away, so I'll be back in 5 seconds.
All right. You got 5 seconds. Will give me time to think. I think it was faster than 5 seconds.
I ran. Oh shit. Yeah. But if you guys want to watch the YouTube podcast, go check it out. I have NFT Donut. We're talking about software dev, shit, YouTube, content creation, NFTs. Go check us out. All right.
Yeah. So, freshman year of college. I guess I should probably give a little bit of context. So in high school, I got pretty good grades in high school. Like my weighted GPA was, I think, like a 4.2.
Nice.
Unweighted was like 3.8 something. So like I wasn't a straight A student, but like I also wasn't trying to be.
Yeah.
That's like one thing I'm really thankful to my parents for, is they never put this unrealistic expectation on me to be a straight A student. I think a lot of parents put that pressure on their kids, and I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me, but that's another discussion.
Yeah. I agree.
So I got through high school. I didn't really try super hard, I would say. Like, I thought I was trying hard, but when looking back, I don't think I was. Uh, I was also really big into sports. Like I've been doing sports since I was like probably like first grade. My mom just encouraged me to try gymnastics, because I
Nice.
was literally she'd find me like crawling around the ceilings in our house and like climbing up walls, and so she found an outlet for me, which was
That's
super
awesome.
helpful. That was probably like the best athletic investment that I've ever made. Yeah, I guess this is a sports podcast now. But like doing gymnastics just helped develop a lot of core like athletic skills, balance, strength, speed, just a lot of stuff. And that helped me do well in like a lot of other sports after that. Like I think on one of your recent podcasts, you said you did wrestling for a little bit.
I did.
Um,
I've literally tried. I feel like I've tried all the sports except football. My dad didn't really want me to do football, and I was like, I didn't care enough to like fight him on that.
yeah.
But yeah, I've also done gymnastics. I did gymnastics when I was like very young, like 6, probably, like for a few
Yeah.
years. I was super young, but gymnastics,
Yeah.
bro. I low key wish I had better. I know, not low key. I high key wish I had better. Like that would be the one thing I tell my younger self would be to just like stop overthinking every little thing, and people just don't care. Because I didn't do wrestling because I was scared I was gonna get judged. I didn't do
Yeah.
gymnastics because I was scared I was gonna get judged. I didn't do
Yeah.
karate because I thought I was gonna get judged. And if I had done
Mhm.
any of those fucking things, I'd be a G right now. But
Yeah.
I chose none of them. I could be in the
Yeah.
MMA.
Yeah. And gymnastics and wrestling are two sports in particular that have like a very, I think, inaccurate stigma, or like, especially in America, I think people just don't understand those sports for what they truly are. And yeah, I just love the sports enough where like I didn't care. Like if people saw me in my little stretchy suit, like spandex, whatever,
Yeah.
and I get why people don't want to wear that. That was like people think it's weird to like, they call it like rolling around on a mat with another guy, and I mean that just like kind of frames it in a really strange way.
Yeah.
But it's like wrestling in particular is just such an amazing sport. It's like two people just like fighting. It's like just a battle of strength and technique, and it's just like if you appreciate it for what it truly is, it's like it's amazing. Gymnastics is also like that. But anyways, I did gymnastics from like first to up until 6th grade, and then I that's when I started wrestling and football,
Yep.
and yeah, and so I did wrestling and football through middle school and uh, into high school. And I played lacrosse in 8th grade, and
Nice.
I absolutely loved lacrosse. Like it was so much fun. And I was terrible. Like when I started the season, I was like, I had picked up a lacrosse stick a week before the season started. And there was an A team and a B team, and like all I had going for me was my speed, because I was like one of the fastest, maybe the fastest guy on the team, but I could not play because I couldn't cradle the ball, I couldn't pass the ball or shoot.
Yeah, yeah.
Like without those skills, you're pretty much worthless in lacrosse. Like doesn't matter how fast you are.
Yeah.
So I got put on B team third string. So I was like at the very back. I was playing midi, and once I figured out how to cradle the ball and like pass and shoot, it was so much fun because I was playing against B team people, which generally speaking weren't like the best athletes. Like the better athletes tend to be on the A team. So like once I figured out the stick skills, it was just so much fun, like running around. But I was about to play lacrosse my freshman year of high school. And a week before the season started, I just on a whim decided to try pole vaulting. So do you know what pole vaulting is?
I know a lot of it. Well, I haven't done it. I know a lot of my friends have done pole vaulting, and I wish I had the stones to have done that in school. But honestly, actually, I was just playing soccer. That's the reason. It wasn't because I was scared. I would have done it probably. I probably would have gone into track and field, but I was dead set on playing college soccer. So that was the only thing I focused on.
Yeah. So I kind of on a whim went into pole vaulting, and then like had a ton of fun doing that. I think my gymnastics background helped a bit with that.
Do you think, did your lacrosse friends, were they like pissed off at you? Like, what the fuck? We were about to start the season, Caleb. You were so good and you just got good. And now you're just going to quit like last second.
Well, I don't know if they, see all of the people that were playing on the high school team, they were on the A team. So they probably didn't even have a clue, what I could do with lacrosse. So I don't think they cared.
Well, honestly, one thing I was going to say when you brought up the thing about how once you got good, it got more fun. That's something that I took with me, and I sometimes I think about that because, you know, the idea when you're like, once this happens, then I'll be happy. You know that idea that people talk about. That's like a philosophical concept, right? So, I've thought a lot about that, and since I've thought so much about that, I feel like I've been able to somewhat, I don't know if the word negate is the right way, but something along those lines. Because I remember in school, I would think if I can just get like baseline good at this, I can just enjoy myself a little bit. And it's more about being able to enjoy the hour that I'm out here doing this. Rather than like happy forever. Like I just wanted to enjoy this hour. And what I noticed was with Pokemon, I played Pokemon like on the DS, right? And once I understood that shit and I could kind of figure out what was going on, I kind of got it just the gameplay. Then the game got fun. And I noticed it with soccer. Like once I got pretty good, I showed up and I didn't have to think about the fact that I wasn't good. And the same with like podcasting. When I get onto the show, like I feel good, I feel confident. I'm like, okay, I can actually have fun for this entire podcast instead of stressing about getting all these questions and saying the right thing at the right time. And that's how I attack life. So now, like when I think about things in the future, how we talked about at the beginning, like that beautiful atrium, it's like, yeah, that's going to be great when I'm there, but it's not, I know it's not going to bring me lasting happiness. I just know that during my hour-long podcast or my hour-and-a-half-long podcast, whatever, it's just going to be even more fun because I'll just be in an even better place. And I don't know, that's just how I've thought about things. I was just wondering what you thought about that.
Yeah.
Or if I'm fooling myself.
No, could you give me a more specific question, just like to help me answer that?
Yeah, for sure. No, so it's just, it's more the discussion around the idea of being able to get some things you can actually enjoy yourself when you're there, rather than like lasting happiness or trying to be the best or conquer the world, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, part of like, for me, I've always loved the pursuit of getting good. And it's funny you mentioned Pokemon. Like I love Pokemon. Pokemon's been like,
your face lit up.
Yeah, no, because that's like so much of my childhood.
Same.
Like I spent so many hours playing Pokemon games when I was like 5 or 6. And like I still play Pokemon to this day. I focus more on like the competitive scene a little bit with like Pokemon Showdown. Have you heard of Pokemon Showdown?
I have not. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's in your web browser. You just look up Pokemon Showdown, and you can just battle random people, and like you can create like custom Pokemon teams. And like part of the struggle of competitive Pokemon is it's like, do you know what EV training or IVs are with Pokemon?
You talking about
Have you
Eevee?
ever? No. There are, so in competitive Pokemon, there are like different. Um, it's funny. This is turning into a Pokemon and
We're
sports
getting old. I told
show.
everyone we're getting ultra nerdy here. I'm a fucking
Yeah.
nerd too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, basically, if you're trying to do competitive Pokemon, there's actually a lot of um, time and effort that goes into training your Pokemon. So not only leveling them up, but like they have basically like hidden stats known as EVs. And depending on the type of Pokemon that you beat in battle, you'll get these EV points, which will actually raise your stats. A lot of people don't know about that.
I did not know about that. I'm
IVs
not
are,
competitive like that, I guess.
yeah, but like, yeah, I guess, yeah, we were kind of talking about like the pursuit of, well, I guess I was saying like pursuing, like becoming good, um, has always been just fun for me. And, in whether it's like competitive Pokemon or, any video game or, in sports, like starting like as the like worst person on the lacrosse field to becoming like one of the best was like fun, just that process. And I think I want to be more process driven than goal driven, I think. Um,
Do you enjoy it when you get there? Like when you got to the top of lacrosse, when you got to the spot that you wanted to be at, is that where you were like, time to enjoy myself? Or is that when you were like, okay, time to do pole vaulting and be good at pole vaulting? Like, is that you're just trying to conquer stuff or?
I think that could be, and that's probably a flaw of mine, and something I've noticed as a narrative of my life is I've always spread myself really thin, like trying a lot of different things, getting good at different things, and then kind of moving on instead of um, like becoming the very best. And even with pole vaulting, I I ended up, starting from zero. Um, like I became the best pole vaulter in my state,
Fuck.
one of the best in the country, and it, I got to that point, and I did have some injury setbacks after that. But yeah, and then I never actually got better in college at pole vaulting, and there are a lot of reasons for that. But so I went D1 for pole vaulting, and then I transferred or switched into the decathlon, which is all 10 events or like 10 different events. That's one of the reasons I didn't like excel in pole vaulting, is because I, once again, kind of a narrative of my life is I spread myself too thin,
Is that
trying
bad,
to
you
learn
think,
10
though?
things.
Like, if I mean, you're
Um,
young, like we're young as fuck. So, like, is that bad?
okay. I think it has pros and cons, like everything in life. Like life is very, very nuanced, and I think most things are not either good or bad, but there's a lot of in between, a lot of gray area. And I think this past year for me has been like similar to that. I've just been exploring a ton of different things, and it's good because you cover a lot of ground. You get to learn yourself better. You figure out what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, and what you suck at. And you wouldn't get that experience if you just picked something and went for it. And maybe you picked the wrong thing. It's possible. But then the downside of spreading yourself so thin is you will never, and this could be a limiting belief, but this is what I believe. But you will never be the best at any one thing if you're doing 10 things or 20 things or spreading yourself so thin. And if you want to be the very best at something, then you need to have a little imbalance in your life and just go all in on that one thing. That's what I believe. And I was not able to, and since I haven't lived like that in a lot of ways, I haven't really experienced that. And so, yeah, I mean, there are pros and cons. I think it kind of depends on what you want your life to look like.
Agreed.
And
And honestly, that
if you
might be
are,
because you don't like you know how you said you didn't want to get away, or you wanted to get away a little bit from goal oriented life and more like process driven life. It might be because of that. Like for me, I'm very goal oriented. I wanted to play college soccer since I was 6. Like literally the second I kicked the soccer ball, I was like, this is what I like. And so I wanted to get better. I want to get better. I didn't care. I didn't do anything else. Like I literally did not care about anything else. Like if a girl left me, I was like, ah, man. Then I was just like, okay, well, let's go play soccer. Like I just did not
yeah,
care. And so eventually I
yeah,
got there, and it sucked for me because I got there and I realized college soccer is not. Well, I don't know what your experience was with college as far as you liking it, but it wasn't what I thought it would be. Fun. I didn't have a good time. My coach was the leadership on the team was miserable, especially for a freshman, and
yeah.
it did not gear us for any sort of success, and it was miserable. So I ended up quitting. But I do agree with you with as far as imbalance. When you see those videos where like have a little bit more balance in your life, it's like yes, I agree for most people. But if you're a weirdo like me and you want to win like to the very top, then you have absolutely no choice but to go all in and be super obsessed, annoyingly obsessed. Be like everyone should know what you're about. Like if everyone doesn't know what you're about, you probably aren't going all in as much as you think,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's interesting how I think a lot of, like, as a kid, I was kind of told, Caleb, you need to have more balance in your life, because I would just spend like as much time as I could playing video games, or hyper focusing on anything. Maybe it's sports, but it's like, I think this narrative of balance is something that has applied to most people and is probably healthy for most people.
Yeah.
But I think there's a percentage of the population where maybe a balanced life isn't what's healthiest for them. And that's also very kind of a generalization, because I mean, how do you define balance? Like, I do want balance in some ways, but in other ways I kind of don't. And like at certain points of my life, I want balance. Like when I'm a little bit older and I have kids, and God willing, and maybe some, like, when I've kind of feel like I have established like more of a community in my life. I want to have balance because I want to spend time with those people and invest in those people. And so I want balance for that. But in order to have balance for that, I believe that it's best for me to sacrifice balance in my present life and just invest time and energy as much as possible right now in a very imbalanced way, because that time investment will compound and free up a lot of your life in the future to have balance. But then there's that compromise where it's like, are you sacrificing your youth, and are you missing out on like experiences when you're young? And
maybe it depends what you want.
I feel like the modern system that we live in is kind of weird, because you spend, it's almost like you don't get either. Like it's like a lose-lose.
That's actually really funny. That's a funny way to put it. You're right, dude. It does suck for a lot of the time. I mean, like I was just in a late podcast, the idea of the anti-hero's journey within everyone, which is like, I feel like as a kid, I grew up watching the shows, the movies where like the badass character wins and he like gets the girl and he wins the whatever. And I was like, oh man, like that must be so sick. And then as you grow up, you realize that whatever hero you become in your own life, if you do, it's not nearly as extravagant as you thought it was going to be. And it ends up sucking most of the time. And so there's a show called Supernatural that I watched forever. I just fucking love that show. And it's these two guys who basically battle demons and save the world. And they're the heroes, yet their life is miserable the whole time. They can't hold relationships. They have terrible issues. They have so many problems. Everything goes wrong all the time, but they're the heroes. And it kind of shows like what it's really like to sacrifice your life for a greater cause, whatever that is for you. And that show was like super therapeutic because I was like, okay, like I'm doing all the things I want. I'm on the path. This is the path. All the people I follow talk about it. I'm like, okay, this is the path that I'm on. It sucks. It's like miserable 75% of the time. But I'm like proud of myself for doing it. And I'm happy. And I know that the path that's harder usually is the one that yields the biggest returns. And if you want that balance in life, I think you're right. You have to put in the work at some point. At some point, all the work has to happen, and you can do that now when you're 20 something, when you don't have all the baggage and all the attachments and stuff. Or I guess you could wait till you're 40 and it's harder and it's more time consuming and you have to balance it with your family. It just makes way better sense. Like Gary Vee is just pounding in my head. It just makes more logical sense to start now. And I was like, you're right. The compounding effect does work, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess to circle back, I think we were talking about like how I got wrecked when I joined college.
We did talk about that a long time ago.
No, and if I start getting a little off track with some of these stories, just feel free to.
Bro, there is absolutely no structure to these podcasts. We're just going wherever it takes us.
I like that. But yeah, so college was a huge adjustment for me. And there are a lot of reasons for that. I think a big one was my mindset going into college. Like, I had this weird idea that college was going to be easier than high school. I don't know where that came from.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I had some pretty prestigious like schools, some Ivy Leagues that were reaching out to me. And like, if any of you want to go to an Ivy League, if you can get good at sports, makes it way easier. Like the requirements aren't nearly as high GPA wise if you're good at sports.
Really? Okay.
Which is kind of a hack. But they don't offer athletic scholarships, which is actually, I didn't know about until they started recruiting me. But I ended up going to a non-Ivy League. The school's a lot cheaper, still like expensive. And that's, I have a lot of beef with the modern education system. I think it's overpriced to put it nicely.
You didn't go to High Point, did you?
No, but I actually did compete at High Point on a couple occasions. Yeah.
Damn, yeah. I remember I toured there and I was like, fuck, if I ever got a scholarship.
Fancy.
Dude, it was beyond fancy. I thought I was literally on the wrong planet. I was like, okay, is this like a billionaire's college, like a playground or something? Like, what is this place? There's like, okay, for people who are listening, if you've never been to High Point, there is classical music speakers in the trees and the bushes and under like fucking sewers. Like there's like classical music playing in speakers all across the entire campus. So when you're walking, you feel like a smart person because you're just constantly hearing this music. And it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like when they play Beethoven to babies, you know, they do the same thing to their students at High Point.
So funny, dude.
To make them smarter.
Exactly.
But High Point was like, that's pretty cool. Pretty nice school. I've been there 2 or 3 times. Yeah, where were we? Was I talking about?
You're talking about how Ivy League schools aren't they're not as hard to get into if you have sports, and then you went and didn't go to Ivy League school.
Yeah. So, and my mindset, like that compounded, and I only say that, I'm not saying that to like brag or anything. I just, to give context, I was, I decided, I'm not going to go to an Ivy League. I'll go to an easier school. And that's not why I chose the like quote unquote easier school.
Sure.
It wasn't like I had just a poor mindset going into college.
There's a whole variety of factors that go into your decision when you make something like that. So
yeah. So not only was my mindset like way off, but like the classes, especially the math classes, were just brutal at the school I went to. And I had not taken calculus until college. And that's another thing where most of the engineers had already taken calculus in high school. And so I was kind of a little behind there too. And like, I just got obliterated. I was falling asleep I had it at 8 a.m.
Oh,
and
dude.
for me, like, And like
You
on
think you
top of that,
can. You think you
yeah,
can. You never
yeah,
can. You never can. It'll
no,
not happen.
I was falling asleep pretty much every class. So I had to withdraw out of that class because I was going to fail.
Sure.
And then next semester I took it and I actually did. I just failed like legitimately. So, and most people would have switched majors at that point. And, you know, maybe I was like, I'm kind of insane for sticking with engineering. But I really just underwent a big mindset shift over that summer. Another thing that made it really hard was the demand of doing a D1 sport. When I was in high school, I kind of maintained a lot of my training kind of personally. And when I got to college, the workload was just way, way more, not only academically, but also athletically. And then like socializing, like I was like just excited to be at college and meet, cool people, and spent a lot of time socializing. I would spend like, this is not an exaggeration, like 4 hours at a time in the dining hall, just eating, socializing, and just
No way.
hanging out. Like, I'm actually, I would say I'm like on that border between introversion and extroversion.
You got two sides of you.
Yeah.
I think I'm the
And
same.
then in college, I think I was more extroverted, and, and I've transitioned back, kind of flipped over more to the introverted side since
Me
then.
too.
Yeah. But yeah, I had to, that like summer after my freshman year, I had to totally like get my priorities straight. So I figured out how to limit relationships, prioritize relationships, not necessarily cut people out, but there were basically three things I wanted when I was in college. I wanted to do well in my classes, so academically, and then I wanted to do well athletically, and I wanted to have a social life. I think those are pretty basic things, but I kind of found that I could really only do two things well at once. So I had to
because you
get my
need that.
time.
You need that personal time. Like that's the one that we forget about. It's like, oh, like I want this, this, and this. Like, okay, well, there's zero time to sit there and waste time, like procrastinate, put things off.
Yeah.
Like you do almost have to allot time just to like procrastinate shit. Like I'm kind of the same. Like one example that I was gonna bring up earlier when we talked about business calculus is I took a calculus class as well for the first time in college, and I would have gotten obliterated just like you, but when I found out that teacher was tenured, oh man, we found ways around that shit, and ended up getting a 99 in business calculus. I showed up to three classes. I showed up to the first day, midterms, and finals, and I got a 99 in the class. We just figured out how to like play the game. I mean, he was tenured. We just figured out ways to get the study guides. We realized they're the same as the tests. Realized didn't have to go to class, like all those things. But then the idea you said about balancing your college life and social life and stuff, dude, that shit is like impossible, especially with college sports. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are listening who will listen to this podcast who are probably in the, I don't know, 15 to 19 range. So I'm sure a lot of them are probably gearing up for college. Maybe they're in college or maybe they're out of college. But man, college on its own without sports is a lot of work. I remember I was a nursing major and a college soccer player at the same time. I don't know how I made that happen, but you're probably spending, if you're trying to study and you're in a hard major, you're probably spending 4 hours a day on academics outside of the class. And then you're also spending, an hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym, hour and a half, 2 hours at training, hour maybe of film. So all of the time that you're not in class is almost allotted for, other than like passing out to go to sleep. So it's really fucking hard when you're a sports athlete. So agreed there. Agreed there.
Yeah. I mean, it would be like 20 hours of commitment a week just to the athletic side of things. So it's like a part-time job.
You're not getting paid either. Like, how are you supposed to get a job? You can't even work if you don't have a scholarship. Shit, you're gonna be broke for 4 years straight.
Yeah, it's it absolutely. It's kind of amazing, like how athletes can get it done. yeah, but
we usually don't. We skip. I don't even know how many classes I skipped in college for sport, especially for sporting events. If we had a game, I'm like, yeah, we have a game tomorrow, but like I need to skip today too. Like,
yeah,
okay.
and yeah, I mean, you said you were doing nursing. That's a crazy tough major. Like
that was my major for a year and a half. It's a lot of work, dude.
A lot of the athletes will end up taking majors that just, you know, aren't as demanding, and like I have no problem with that. It just, that kind of shows where their priorities are at, you know. And for me, like as I went through college, I ended up kind of shifting my priorities a bit away from sports. But yeah, after my freshman year, I kind of fixed my mindset. I went in, got an A in calculus,
Nice.
and yeah, turned it around from an F to an A. So that helped my GPA quite a bit, because it replaced the F on my transcript.
Nice.
So yeah, I had like a 2.7 GPA coming out of my freshman year, and like that was from like a nearly 4.0 student in high school, and like that was just not like me. So yeah, but yeah, I had to like really cut out like the focus on socializing, you know, not spending 4 hours in the dining hall at a time, and just time management. And yeah, I would I think you mentioned something about it, but just like, yeah, like I spent very, like, I was just like, every day was just crammed full of stuff. And I felt like very reactive to college as a freshman. Like things were happening to me and I would respond. So like becoming proactive and actually being intentional and about taking charge and like doing things to structure your days instead of letting the days structure you, I think is really important. I noticed that the only reason I would spend time in my dorm was to go to bed. And I was spending a stupid amount of money on the dorm, like, you know, thousands of dollars a month to live in a dorm that all I did was sleep there. And so it's funny because you said you used to live out of your car. And so I actually did this. That's funny. I decided to do the same thing in college.
Really?
For my junior year. And it was awesome. Like I literally felt like I was camping every night. It was really hard at first, I will admit. Like I kind of was thinking like, I don't know if I made the right decision. Like that first night sleeping in my car was just like, I don't know if this is the right move.
Where'd you park?
So I parked on campus a couple times, but I found a couple of my friends from the track team. I paid them like, I think it was like $60 a month to just park it in their driveway.
Nice.
So a lot cheaper than the thousands of dollars I'd be spending on.
What did you think about that? Like for me, it was fine, but I definitely underestimated like how much having a little bit of space is good. Like in my car, I had all my shit crammed in there, and I always felt like I was crammed up. But I think that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. I've always just wanted to expand, so it was tough for me, especially after like at the 4-month mark, dude. I was like, fuck me, this is kind of hard. I don't want to like. You can't cook, can't like store food. Like you have a cooler, but you got to fill it with ice every few days, and it's just like, oh my god, this shit is kind of tedious.
Yeah, and it's I was like I was technically homeless, but I was like luxury homeless because I was on the meal plan still. So that made it like way easier because like I was living out of my car, but if I had to eat, I could just go to the dining hall.
Sure.
And that simplified it a ton.
Yeah, that actually sounds great.
Yeah, and it was like I saved a ton of money, and it was way better for my productivity because I had no temptation to play video games or be distracted in my dorm room because, you know, I didn't have Wi-Fi in my minivan. I didn't have enough space to be distracted.
Exactly.
Like it was for sleeping. So
where did you spend your time?
Okay, so that I would wake up in the morning, I would go to my classes. Right after classes, I would go to practice, and then from practice, I would go to the library and just study.
Lit.
And and then I would leave the library, I don't know, maybe like 11, sometimes 12, maybe sometimes 10. And I would just drive from the library straight to my friend's driveway and just go to sleep.
Yeah.
And just on repeat. So I had, and in between those activities, I would get meal breaks. I'd try to be really quick, like get in and out, like get my food, eat and get out, move on to the next thing. So like every day was packed full, but it was super organized and structured and very free from distractions. Yeah. And it's funny because my wife, we met when when I was homeless. And
I was about to ask because I saw your wedding band and I was like, is this motherfucker married?
Yeah, we're coming up on 2 years.
Damn.
Pretty soon. Like,
my God, dude, I can't even get a text back. This man's married out here.
That's one thing that makes life a little simpler. You know, I don't have to be looking for women anymore. It's that's figured out. So
got it locked in.
Yeah, I love her. She's great. But she's a social worker and like has a big heart for the homeless population. And like I've learned so much about that population from her. But it was funny because when we met, she told me she was interested in the homeless population, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm homeless.
That's legendary. What a perfect matchup. Oh my God.
She didn't believe me, but I think she just took pity on me. And you know, she felt sorry for me, so she married me because I was homeless. But yeah, that's
oh my God.
You know, it's
funny. I actually learned a lot about being a lot about the homeless situations, and I got interested in homeless people and what their lives were like because I was basically homeless. So there's a bunch of times where, for me, my situation was different. I was traveling, so I never was in one place more than like a week usually. Yeah. So I would park in like fucking parks and shit sometimes, like a lot of times, honestly. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to pay for parking, so I'm just gonna park in this random public place. And I would just sit, if I didn't want to go to a library, or if the library was like 2 miles away from the park, I'm like, well, I guess I'm spending the day in a graveyard or like a cemetery or a park or something where a lot of homeless people hung out. And so I end up kind of like being homies with a lot of homeless people, just kind of chilling there. Like a lot of them are chill. They're just like down their luck, or they're just like whatever. And so I learned a lot about it because I was like, why are they always asleep in the day? Like, why aren't they like out there grinding or something? And you learn that they just got so many cars stacked against them when they're homeless, but it's not like by choice. I mean, they don't have like the funds or the money or the resources. It's fucking hard. Like, how are you supposed to get a job when you don't have a phone? You don't have a place to shower. You look like shit. You smell like shit. Like, how are you supposed to get anything done? And that world is really tough. And so that's cool that you said your wife is about that, because I'm the same. That's something I want to do. Like, that's part of the reason I work really hard, because right now, like, me giving $3 to a homeless dude's like, yeah, that can help him for a day. But I want to be able to somehow like leave like a legitimate impact. And that's why I've kind of structured my brand to be like the Joyage Kingdom. It's like an umbrella term for like my brand, because I can do anything, like Joyage Kingdom Agency, Joyage Kingdom charity, Joyage Kingdom Foundation, whatever it is. Because one day I want to be able to help in some capacity for the homeless people, just because they're so misunderstood, dude.
Yeah, totally misunderstood. I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And they are the homeless population, they're some of the strongest people on this planet and most resilient people on this planet. Yet society writes them off and overlooks them a lot of the time. And I think if we could see them for who they actually are, I think we'd have much more respect and a lot more grace for them. And I think that's really something that we should also apply to anybody, not just the homeless population, but it's really easy to make judgments on people just based on what we see. But people are extremely complicated and have backstories that we don't even know the half of. And I think it's just important to not make judgments on people too quickly, and like actually try to understand someone. Don't put people in boxes. or put labels on people. Yeah, so I think that's super cool. And I like what you said about the Joyage Kingdom, like as an umbrella term.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome. You can do a lot of different things with it.
yeah, man.
And
Hell yeah.
yeah, I'm excited. Like super excited for what you're building. And yeah, like I have a ton of respect for how hard you're working, and yeah, what you're going to do with your platform is really exciting. So
I appreciate that, man. With the, what was I going to say? The amount of people, well, okay, so like the confirmation bias for homeless people, but also, I don't know if you have like a time commitment. Like, do you need to wrap up soon, or
no,
keep going?
I'm good. What about you?
No, I'm good. I usually, like, honestly, most podcasts usually go like 90 minutes or something like that. But it also depends. Like sometimes they go 2 hours, sometimes they stop at an hour. I don't have like a time commitment. I was just wondering if you did.
No, I'm happy to be here.
Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah,
I definitely have a couple more topics that are more Web3 related too. So I definitely want to get into that.
Sorry, this has been like, I've kind of dragged this conversation out.
Dude, I fucking love this. This has been a great conversation. I think anyone, especially who's interested in you as a person, this podcast can be huge for them. And that's why I do the podcast, because it's more about connecting as a human. Obviously, we're going to hit on some Web3 topics, but like people are more interested in people, dude. Like, I mean, they're going to get all your helpful content from your channel anyway. So like you've got plenty of content that's going to help in the Web3 space. But as far as like the homeless situation, it's like the last thing I'll touch on here is that I think you see the homeless, you know it's a problem, you know it needs to be fixed. You see some homeless people where you're like, oh, like that's a genuine person, I feel for them. But then you see one homeless person begging in a way that you don't like, and you're like, oh, all homeless people do this shit. They're all fucking useless. All they do is beg. And you're like, well, like that's I mean, honestly, there's some that suck. There's some who live in, like, they have a phone, they've got all these things that you're like, why is this person like begging for money? And yeah, you're right. They don't understand. You don't really know what it's like, for one, but you also don't know their life. And it's tough, dude. Like, you see one homeless person and you're like, I think a lot of people just say, they're all like that. Or you see, like, you go to Skid Row or something, you're like, they're all like this. You're like, that's not even remotely close to true.
Yeah. But I love that you brought that up. And that's like, I hope people hear that and understand that and apply that to not just the homeless population, but all populations, including politics. And I don't want to make this like a political podcast, but like, we see people on the left and on the right, and we see the extremes, and we point fingers and say, oh, they're all like that. And that's so not true. There's so much nuance and in between. It's like, I think people are a lot more moderate and reasonable than we like to
on
give
the
them
inside.
credit for.
Absolutely, I agree.
And I think we compartmentalize and put people in boxes because it's way easier for us and our brains to, it basically, it makes things a whole lot less complex. Because when we acknowledge people and groups as complicated, that just takes a lot more work to think about. And it's way easier to just put someone in a box and say, that's them. I don't like them. And just, I think we should probably try not to do that as much. So.
Dude, that's actually wild that you brought that up, because literally yesterday, I hope he's watching this right now, but had this conversation in my comment section. I was on a podcast yesterday with Tom doing Tea Time, and I brought up I was like, if Trump versus Biden happens again, I'm leaving the country. Like, I'm going to Canada. Just kind of like a joke. Partially because I'm not a huge fan of either one. I'm like, I mean, I'm not like, it doesn't, I don't fucking whatever, you know. So anyways, I said that, and someone had left a comment. They were like, I can't believe you're a Biden supporter. Like, I look at you so differently now. I'm still going to watch your videos, but I can't believe it, kind of thing. And I responded. I was like, okay, like, one, I never said that. Two, what are you talking about? And three, like, why are you judging me based on like one thing you think you heard me say? Like, that you have no, why, don't do that. That's so childish. And that was the response I left. And he basically responded, was like, oh my God, like, I actually didn't even hear you right. That's not even what you said. And then it was fine. We ended up, we talked offline, and he was like, shit, I didn't even know. But he recognized that, and he recognized, he was like, oh shit, I shouldn't have just like jumped at a conclusion and judged someone immediately for something that wasn't even right or wrong. It's just what I don't believe in. It's like, I don't like this guy, and if you do, then this. And it's like, well, like, why do you have to think that way? There's a lot of people that I know that are my friends who believe something or like something that I don't, but I don't care. Like, I have no idea what led them to that belief. You have no idea how much time they spent thinking about it. They might have just heard one thing and said, okay, I'm rolling with that. And I think a lot more people will probably say things and don't actually have a lot of weight behind it. They're just like, oh, I don't like this. And you're like, oh my God, how could they say it? You're like, dude, they don't give a fuck, bro. You know?
Man, I love the stuff you're bringing up. That's so good. And to give that practical example is really helpful. Because what a lot of people nowadays will, and you see it a ton with politics. Basically, it's cancel culture, really, and I hate cancel culture.
Same.
But if you like a certain candidate, so we'll use Biden and Trump as the example. So hypothetically, let's say you like Biden and I like Trump. I don't have to hate you.
Yeah,
like exactly. I can still like you because you are not Biden. And I think it would also be helpful if people would try to recognize the good and the bad in people, because people are not all good or all bad.
Agreed.
Biden has good qualities and bad qualities. Trump also has good qualities and bad qualities. And we can learn to respect and appreciate the good in someone and maybe not the bad. And we can do that for both people. And I hate to see people that will just cut people out of their lives because they voted for the other candidate. Yeah. It's like, what the heck? You know?
Well, it's also like when people say, I fucking sucks at fighting. If I did this, I would do that. It's like, okay, were you there? Did you fight that guy? Were you president? Like, were you like, you don't actually know any of these things. And people think that they would act a certain way. I'm like, for example, I was an orientation leader at college. My senior year, my end of my junior year, I went to a party, approached by this fraternity. They said, hey man, I was an orientation leader, so I knew everybody on campus. They're like, you have a lot of reach on this campus. A lot of people know who you are, because I was an RA before. I was orientation. I literally knew half the school, and it wasn't a huge school. So we were in orientation class, and I decided to make it my own class because we were doing this thing where we showed people how to be a middleman. Not a middleman. All right. Let me rephrase this. It was a class on how to not be a bystander in a situation where you should be a bystander. You should intervene here. It's a safety situation. And my junior year, about 3 months before this class had started, I was at a party because this fraternity said, hey, we want you to be a founding member. Come to a few of our parties, just see if you like it, see if you like the people, blah, blah, blah. So I went to a couple of the parties. They're fucking miserable. It's about what you expect from a fraternity party. I didn't want to fucking be there. After like two days, I was like, I'm not going to be here. It's a bunch of freshman girls. It's a bunch of dudes kissing ass, trying to get some ass. Like, this is stupid. And so I was about to leave. They said, no, come to this last party. So I went. I had a couple of my friends there. It was a little bit more fun. At the end of the night, this kid who was in my dorm the year before, so I knew him, a kid from England, piece of shit, just straight up piece of shit. He was just very confident in his accent, because that works for the most part. Like, girls, they love the accent. So anyways, he's trying to get with this girl, and she's visibly not trying to be there. Right. And
despite the accent,
it was so uncomfortable to watch. All her friends were like looking at it, and they were kind of like hoping that someone would step in, basically. And I was probably the only person at the entire party with any authority. I was probably one of the older people there too. And this kid was younger. I was about the same size. Okay, so I'm just gonna walk up and say something. So I basically was like, yo, Joaquin, should I just dox him? Whatever. Joaquin, come over here, man. And I was like, yo, this girl does not want you, bro. This girl does not want you. I don't know how you're not seeing these signs. She doesn't want you. Leave her alone. And I basically said it like that. And he was like, no, bro, you don't understand. Like, she's just playing hard to get, and all these things. Like, you'll see. Like, I'm gonna get her to come home with me, which is basically his exact words. And I was like, wow, no, you don't understand. Like, she doesn't want to be with you. He's like, no. I forget what. Anyways, I basically said, okay, he's good. Walked away. 10 minutes later, he's fucking right back at it, trying to get with her. So I went back over. I said, hey man, come over here. And basically said the same shit. I was like, you got to leave her alone. I don't know what you're doing. This is super fucking weird. It's uncomfortable for me now. You got to leave, or she's going to leave, like one of the two. And while I'm talking to her, I see out of the corner of my eye, her leaving the fucking party with her friends. They all like took that opportunity and dipped. So they're running away basically. And he starts to get mad. He's drunk as fuck. He's like starting to get upset with me. I never thought I was actually in a safety situation. It didn't look like he was going to hit me or anything. So I kind of just like stood there and tried to like bide my time while they ran. And eventually he realized that that's what I was doing, turns around, sees the girls leaving, literally motherfucker chases after, runs down the stairs. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. So I followed him, and I look down the stairs and see he's literally got her like, if the wall is right here, he's got hands like this on the wall, and she's right here in front of him. And he's like, why are you leaving? He was like pissed drunk at this point. He's like, why are you leaving? Like, like we should go home and all this shit. And I literally had to run down there and like I didn't like push him. I just kind of like grabbed him. I was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Stop. And they left. And he was super pissed, didn't say anything, stormed up the stairs, and that was the end of it. And then that night, he texted me on like WhatsApp or something. I don't know how he got my number. And he's like, yo, you better watch your back, blah, blah, blah. The next morning at like 9 a.m, he texted me, he's like, dude, I'm so sorry. I was so drunk. I'm so sorry. So anyways, the reason I brought that story is because when I had that class and I showed the bystander intervention thing, I said, you know what? Let's give these kids a taste of what it's really like. So we did a role-playing situation where we had 2 people there and we brought up a freshman guy and said, okay, you step in here. And then I told the other 2 people, I was like, act as if this is a real situation and I want you to test him a little bit. I want you to push back a little bit, see what he does. And he basically did it. He passed. It was super awkward though, super uncomfortable. And at the end of the class, the kid walked up. He's like, dude, that was way scarier than I thought it would be. And this wasn't even fucking real. And I was like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's way different when you're actually there doing anything than if you think about it in your head because you saw some kid on social media doing it. It's not the same when you're in that situation yourself because it is way scarier. Life is scarier than it seems online.
Yeah. And people, generally speaking, avoid confrontation or conflict. I think that's a natural response for most people. And so, it's very hard when you're actually in that situation to do something about it if you're not prepared to. So
yeah, especially in college, dude, when you're a kid, when you're like trying to grow up, you're trying to prove yourself kind of thing, like that stuff is scary. But I don't know. Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of like to close out that idea of shit's just, it's just different when you're there, when you're actually president, then maybe you can start talking shit. When you're actually a fighter in MMA, you can start talking about shit about these fighters and all these things. But if you're not that person, if you're not that guy, you're not that girl, then God damn, like you don't have to drop your opinion on everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's brutal, but
yeah. And also another thing is like, I think people should be less offended by opinions. I think that's another thing is somebody gives their opinion and they're personally attacked by it. And like people can also like they are free to think differently than you and
100%.
feel differently. And you don't have to feel personally attacked by that. So like in the politics example, like, if you like the other candidate, that's great. It's like, I don't need to feel threatened by that. So
hell yeah. I think I'm glad we got into that topic. And to completely change courses here for anyone listening, we're about to go not deep, but we're going to get kind of deep into like the Web3 content here. So my question for you was, you were in the software development world, and because I read a couple of your bios. I know you had that page where you kind of like sell your services and stuff. So you jumped into blockchain, Web3. Was it because of all the attention? Like, when exactly did you jump in and why?
When did I jump into Web3?
Yeah, Web3 NFT shit.
Yeah. So probably last fall or summer, maybe probably early fall. I have this friend of mine. Also just want to say hi to Gurpreet, one of the viewers. He said, hey, he's also a software dev, very smart guy, good at what he does. But I have a friend who very smart. He's into hacking, actually. Like, he's hacked some big companies and
really
ethical hacking. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's a lot smarter than I am when it comes to that stuff. So he knew that I had an interest in like finance and programming, and in the past I had messed around writing some stock trading bots with Python, and so that like trades stocks algorithmically based on certain indicators and whatever you want to program it. But so he mentioned this thing called he mentioned flash loans and exchange arbitrage.
Yep.
And those were new terms to me. And I don't know so have you heard of either of those terms?
I've heard of them. I don't know much about those. And also continue talking. I'm just going to switch my camera out so I can swap the battery so it doesn't die on me.
Yeah. So
but I can still hear you.
Okay. So for people who don't know what flash loans or exchange arbitrage are, I think starting with exchange arbitrage is probably the easier one to explain. So it's a fancy words, but exchange arbitrage is just when two different exchanges value something differently, and then you can profit on that difference as a third party. So, okay, so let's say like Cade and I both sell donuts separately.
Mhm.
So, Cade values donuts at $1 per donut, and I value donuts at $2 per donut. Well, you, the viewer, could recognize that delta or that like difference in price between these two exchanges, and you could buy a donut from Cade for $1 and then sell it to me for $2 because I think it's worth $2, and then you can profit that $1 difference. So that's exchange arbitrage, and that applies not just to donuts but also to cryptocurrency exchanges. Of course, the difference in prices between these exchanges is not going to be a 100% difference like it was in the donut example. It's going to be much smaller percentage wise most of the time. So what is required to make money in that scenario is a lot of volume. You need to sell a lot of, or buy and sell, exchange a lot of that one currency. Because maybe the difference is a matter of cents between these two exchanges. You're not going to make much money if you're just, if you have low volume.
Sure.
So that is where flash loans come in, because flash loans are an interesting development in the DeFi space that utilizes smart contracts where you can borrow large sums of cryptocurrency. So like potentially millions of dollars of cryptocurrency you can borrow with zero risk, really, outside of what you would pay in gas fees and transaction fees. And so, but you can only take out that loan if certain conditions are met. And you have to pay that loan back in a matter of seconds, which is why it's called a flash loan, because you only get it for like a flash of time, like very short period of time. So let's say you have an algorithm that spots, you have it scanning different exchanges. So you've got exchange A, which is selling, we'll say Ether is one example, and then exchange B, Ether is priced differently. You've got your bot, maybe it's scanning multiple exchanges, but it recognizes that discrepancy and activates. You use flash loans, take out that loan, you buy crypto from one exchange, sell it to the other, profit the difference, and pay back the loan and fees involved. And then you subtract all those fees from whatever that profit was, and that's what you're left with. So
very cool.
Hopefully that made sense. Did that, like, was there a part of that I didn't explain well, or that you want me to touch up on?
No, I think that's pretty on point right there. I think there's a lot of people who probably heard it, probably jumped from flash loan to leverage trading. I probably thought those are probably similar. It's like a similar concept, I think,
Yeah, so you are borrowing money, but like leverage trading has a lot more risk involved. With flash loans, the reason why it's risk-free is because you cannot take out the loan if the arbitrage opportunity is not present.
Gotcha.
So basically, you can only take the loan if the opportunity to make money is there. So that's what's really cool about it. And like that's what's an example of what's so cool about smart contracts, is like that type of trading is not really a thing outside of Web3. And I've always kind of been, I don't know, maybe obsessed with finance.
How long?
I've always found it so interesting. Hey, what's up,
Tom's in
Tom?
the house.
Yeah,
What's up, dude?
Donut.
What's up?
Yeah. So like that really like hooked me. The whole DeFi world was just very interesting. And there's like this never it's like this space is just a rabbit hole, and there's so many topics to learn. And I know very little of what is going on in this space in the grand scheme of things.
We all do, bro.
And
We all think we know it all.
yeah,
There's 98% of stuff I have not heard of.
yeah. And that's like I'm glad you recognize that, because I think people often think they know more than they actually do. But there's this interesting curve where um, if you know a topic moderately well, you probably think you know more than you actually do.
Yeah, I agree. You know, within your bubble, you know a lot. But it's
Yeah.
very important to remember within your bubble.
But then once you learn more, you realize how much you don't know. I think it's an
Exactly.
Albert Einstein quote, like, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know, like what I don't
Yeah.
know, or that I don't know. Something
Someone
like
also
that.
says something along the lines of like the wiser you get. I think wisdom is realizing you know nothing, or something like that too. Like I think people who accumulate a lot of wisdom and knowledge, they're like, shit, I don't know anything. I'm not gonna be able to learn
Yeah.
everything in this lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. And it's like, in the grand scheme of things, like, I know not even a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what there is to know. Like
Yeah.
and like, in that, looking at it from that perspective, it's like, in the grand scheme of things, I know just as much as a baby.
Yeah.
And then when you go into the niche of Web3, like, there are so many layers and different topics to learn, and a lot of it is so new. It's just it's impossible to know everything. And
I
you
agree.
can get really good, and you can become an expert at, maybe one or two things in your life. Maybe that's a limiting belief, maybe more, but I really think, like, if you want to become an expert, you have to be willing to commit everything to that one topic. And yeah, so I started in the DeFi space, exploring that world, found that to be super interesting, and then ended up getting traction in the NFT space. And I thought the NFT space was so fascinating and interesting, because it combines like so much of what I'm interested in all into one space. And I've and that's rare. That's very rare, because I think, for me, I would consider myself to be a very creative person, and like I've always loved building things and like creating things ever since I was a kid. And but I'm also like very interested in like the kind of like the technology side of things, like the hard skills.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a weird combo, because a lot of people are like very creative and artistic, and but like don't have the hard skills. And then a lot of people, they have the hard skills, like they think very logically,
There's no creativity
but they
though.
don't have the creative side. And that's actually been really hard for me, because I feel like my head will take me one way, like the more logical thinking side, and then my heart takes me another way, the creative, like, inner child. And that's like, in some ways, a curse, because I think I can attribute one of the themes of my life of like spreading myself so thin to that, because it's always been hard for me to just pin down one thing to focus on. And I think, to get back to what I was saying, that's why NFTs were so interesting to me, because it like combines like a lot of my interests, like the art. Like, I love art. Like, like creating music, or even like drawings and paintings. Those were things that I was doing since I was like a little kid, and I still love to do today, but it's just hard to find time. And those skills, unfortunately, aren't as valuable as like the
Yeah.
hard skills. But I also do love the hard skills, like programming, like pretty cool. You can build worlds, and
Yeah.
and that's where NFTs were that like perfect combination, where it's like it's very artistic, but it's also technical. Like there's like this is a new technology, and like that I think just captured me. And yeah, so that's really what sparked my interest in NFTs. And so I decided like I think I'd started a YouTube channel a little bit before that. It was just going to be like general investing, and like maybe business, and I don't know. There's like kind of a general channel,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
not
no,
a
I
good
get you.
idea.
It's tough, dude. Yeah.
But you want to really niche down from my experience. And then once I niched down in NFTs, I got like much more traction. And you know,
Yeah, I saw.
I'm still a small YouTuber. I'd consider myself that. Like I think I've got like 26, approaching 2,700 subscribers at this point. Most of those came from like my NFT related content. And actually, one of the big reasons I started to kind of niche down into NFTs was I happened to get on a call with Brett Malinowski, and I don't know how I managed to get on a call with him. He's like the hardest person to get a hold of in this space.
Dude, motherfucker is so difficult to. I sent him a DM like a week and a half ago for a meeting that we're supposed to do. He still hasn't gotten back. That dude is busy.
That's
Tom
that's
knows.
funny.
Tom
Yeah,
knows.
no, we were gonna hop on another call recently, but like I know he's super busy, and he probably forgot about it. But I really appreciate Brett, and he had a big impact on my kind of perspective on like my channel. And when I hopped on a call with him, I was at like 200 subscribers. I think this was back in January. And I hopped on a call with him, kind of talked about some of my vision, and he encouraged me to like, you know, go for it. And like coming from like, I mean, he's a big name.
He's probably one of the bigger names in the NFT land. Yeah, I think him, so, like, Angel, and then Giancarlo are probably the top three.
Yeah, and they're all great. Like they're awesome. But like having that stamp of approval from Brett like just helped me. And I just doubled down on NFTs, and then my channel did like over a 10x in 3 months. So I like literally like right after that call, my subscriber growth just boom. And it was just a mindset shift, and like actually putting in the work. And and I will say I was lucky because the timing of the market.
Sure.
NFTs were a hot topic when I doubled down on it. And so lately, I mean, NFTs are just not getting the attention that they were back, you know, a little earlier in the year. But yeah, so that's basically how I ended up starting the channel. I'm kind of at a crossroads right now, though, because I think I don't know if I want to limit myself to just NFTs, and I think Web3 is more encompassing of my interests and like what I think this channel could be about. So I'm considering a bit of a rebrand, and potentially even doxing myself. I've probably given out enough information at this point where I could be doxed. If people really wanted to put in the work. So
I think so, yeah. Honestly, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I've been throwing around the pros and cons, and like one of the big advantages is well, one, there's a certain level of trust that you're more likely to receive if you are doxed. there's a huge accountability issue in this space. Undoxed founders, I don't necessarily have a problem with. I know a lot of undoxed founders who are fantastic. But I think there is a certain level of trust that comes with being doxed, but also if not being doxed kind of just throws away my background, like my technical background.
Great.
My engineering degree doesn't exist. Like NFT Donut does not have an engineering degree. NFT Donut didn't work as a software engineer for a year.
Yeah. 100%.
In the industry, like, people know me as a content creator first and foremost, which I think is really interesting. Like, a lot of people are surprised to find out that that I have a background in software, and like, I don't blame them, and that's entirely my fault, because I really have not told people much about me. Like, people don't know who I am, and that's on me. So I'm kind of thinking about doxing and like building, like, one thing that I think is really important to growing a platform is like being relatable. And that's something I love about you, Cade, and your channel and the Joyage Kingdom, is it's very authentic and relatable. And like, I know you as Cade, not some like mysterious person. And so, like, thinking about maybe trying to make kind of my brand a bit more personal.
Hell yeah, I love that.
And like, letting people know that, like, I'm actually a real person, and I care about you as a person. Like, I genuinely, like, am interested in your well-being.
Yeah.
And that gets hard, like, when you do have a lot of people. And I'm sure you probably get swarmed with DMs as well. It's just, like, really hard to show people that you care.
You have to say it, bro. Like, you have to say it. Like, they will know. There's a lot of things that people about your personality that you're like, oh, people know that, but it's like, people don't know that. They wouldn't think that. It's just it's not on their mind. And so it's a lot of times, like, that's why I go out and fucking say stuff on Twitter. I'm like, the Joyage Kingdom is going to be here forever. I say all these things because, like, I believe it, but I believe that. People don't know that I believe it unless I say it out loud. And people are like, oh, like, Cade does believe this. And, like, one day it comes true, and they're like, okay, like, I think Cade is really about this life. And then they see the work I'm putting in, and it even makes more sense. And how you're saying with the doxing thing, Giancarlo is a trader. He's got a trading background. He's got a background in actual finance beforehand, which gives him a massive boost of credibility. So people will believe him. And he has a lot more stature because of that. Even though a lot of people don't know, you can tell whether he talks, like, he understands shit a little bit more fundamentally than a lot of the other traders here, because he actually has a background. So when he talks, you actually know. Same with Journey Crypto. Like, he was one of the biggest crypto YouTubers, and he was my Brett, basically. Like, when I was at like 1,000 subscribers, he followed me on Twitter, and we chatted a little bit, and I was like, holy shit, like, and that boost really helps for a while, because you're like, oh my god, okay, totally. Like, I've got something here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have bothered to follow me or, like, waste the time. And I think that's huge. So, I mean, I try and do that too when I see a creator who's smaller. If I watch a video, if I happen to see something on Twitter or something, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. If that guy's putting in work, if I've seen them putting in work for a few months, and I like that they're putting in quality stuff, and I see them like a good person, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go.
Absolutely. I love that. Like, I genuinely want to return the favor. Like, the people that believed in me when I was smaller than I am now. I'm still small, but, like, I want to do that for the other small creators and people who are trying to build in this space. And I love that you see it that way too. And, like, I do not care at all how many followers you have or what your subscriber count is. Like, that is irrelevant to me. All I care about is, like, are you consistent? Are you making good content? Or maybe it's not even good, but are you improving?
Yeah.
And are you just making an effort? And, like, if you're doing those things, I will support you.
Yeah.
And, like, it's a shame because there are so many small content creators, and they just don't get appreciation because, I think there is an element of luck to,
for sure.
and like, that is a very controversial topic because I think for a lot of reasons, but I think the people at the top like to think that they did it all themselves a lot of time. Not always. Like I hate generalizing, but like I know there are people at the top who are like very humble and thankful and recognize that they didn't do it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's how I feel. Like if I get anywhere, it's not because I did it on my own. It's because I had support from people like these subscribers. Like the one person who subscribed to me, like my first subscriber, that's a huge milestone. And that like person actually affected my growth infinitely. And I think, yeah, it's, I wish that I wish smaller creators who are making good work would get the appreciation and respect that they deserve. And I'm not saying like, I'm not trying to say I deserve that. I'm talking about the other people. Like there are a lot of creators out there. Like there's one guy, I don't know if you know Aaron Warlock. I'm just going to throw his name out there, but like he's one of the creators that like, I don't know. Did he have like 20 subscribers or something when I came across his channel? But like he was just making good content, and like I could tell he was making an effort to improve.
Yeah.
So like he's somebody that I've really supported, and his channel's grown quite a bit. Like I think he's getting close to 500 subscribers, which it's like it's just you don't see those people, but there are a lot of people out there doing really, really good stuff, and they're just not getting the appreciation I think they should have. So I want to support those people. It's hard to support everyone though, just with my limited capacity. What's up, Bryce? It's hard, because I have a very limited capacity as a human to help everyone, and also you got to help yourself first too.
Agreed.
And, a lot of people call that selfish. I have an interesting perspective on selfishness. I think a lot of time we will put labels on things as good or bad. And like a lot of people put the bad label on selfishness. And in some cases, it certainly can be a bad thing. But I think there are some people that they kind of run themselves dry, just helping everyone else. And then they're stranded and they don't have any support. If you're one of those people, I think, it's okay to take care of yourself and like put yourself first sometimes. So
yeah,
100%. I'm trying to find that balance too. Because like I've spent a lot of like, the reality is I've been making this NFT content since like the end of 2021. And I've done everything for free at this point. Like I haven't done any paid promos. I've got my free Discord server. I give out whitelist spots for free. It's like I've got to start taking care of myself at some point. And that's kind of this transition where I'm at, where I'm married and I want to like be a good husband and provide for my wife and my future kids. And I got to figure out a way to do that. And that's just kind of been like a struggle for me, because it's like it's hard to pick one thing. And that's like I keep coming back to this, but that's like been a narrative of my life where I'm spread so thin.
Yeah.
And like doing 10 things at once. And part of that comes from my problem as, like my head and my heart taking me in different directions. Starting an NFT agency is something that I think there's like so much opportunity there.
There's a ton. It's tough to choose. Like Tom does that. Tom talks to me about that. He's like, he's trying to decide between YouTube and business. And for me, I chose like video content is what I do. It's what I love. And I've identified that like business is fine. But for me, like the content side is what drives my business. Like all my offers for everything come through other people watching my videos. That's where 99% of my commissions come from. If they want a paid review, they almost all watch my channel and they're like, okay, we watched your channel for 2 months. We like your videos. Okay, how much do you charge for a paid review? And those are great for me because there's no promo going on. It's very honest. I'm like, look, I could roast your project and you could pay me to do that. So you're taking that chance if it's a review. But they respect that. I've been doing it forever. I've got like over 100 reviews. So I've got like that like resume kind of built up. But I've used it to where like my IP, like my name, my brand, like my channel is the product that I'm selling. And so it's like whatever I'm selling tied to that is what they get. And that's just built. I mean, that's a 10-month process that took it took me like 4 months to get that started. And then now I'm at a point where I've never had to reach out to a project. They all come to me because of those videos I put in. But it's because I structured it that way. Like I structured it so that my videos, one, they're top priority for me, but the videos are what drive my business. Like if I don't make the videos, then I don't get business. So like I set it up that way. That way it's like, it makes it so that I make more videos because that's what I like to do anyway. Tom's the opposite. He wants to do business and then make his videos about kind of following that journey and stuff. But business is his first thing. Setting up that business is first. I just think about it differently. I think I'm going to see more success with the video, but I also like filming and editing. I don't love editing, but like I like doing that part. He doesn't like that as much. He doesn't like the filming part as much. It takes a lot for him to turn the camera on. For me, I'm good to turn the camera on 24/7. Like I'm good to go.
Yeah.
So it's just like different ways to do it. You know?
That is so interesting. Yeah. And like, I think what you're doing is brilliant. Like using your platform and like you are the brand and like, that is so cool. And that's a project that you can be motivated to invest in.
Exactly.
Because it's yourself, you know?
It's also dangerous though, because it's me. So if something goes wrong with me, it's like Gary V. It's like Gary V, bro. If Gary V fucking says the wrong thing one day and people decide that's worse than all the value you've put in over 25 years, then it's fucking over for V friends, dude. You know?
Yeah. So unfortunately,
it's high risk, but
I wish, and we talked about this a little earlier, but like, I think it would be nice if people had a little bit more grace. Like people say the wrong thing sometimes, and I don't think you should cancel them for it.
Yeah, but it's tough, dude. It's a tough world. But if you can become uncancelable, like if you can make it so that you're like, look, like for example, I haven't put this tweet out. I was going to, I forgot about it, but I have a video called "I've Been Canceled," and I filmed it. I don't know, 5 months ago, and it's posted on YouTube. It's unlisted. It'll be posted if I get canceled, basically when I get canceled. But it's a very generic response. It's like, look, like I don't know what I got canceled for, but apparently I canceled. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna give you the answer that you want. My answer is I'll see you next month when you've forgotten. Like that is literally the only thing. Because people, even like David Dobrik had this massive scandal against him. He just waited a few months and came back out. And people like hated on him for a few weeks, and they're like, okay, whatever. Like they just don't care, dude. Like Roe v. Wade. I haven't heard a single fucking peep about Roe v. Wade in over 2 weeks, and it was big for a week. If people weren't talking about it for that week, they're mad at you. And I knew that like it would take 2 weeks for the emotions to cool down, and then a week after that for people to literally forget. And it's wild how fast the world moves, because you'll have something that changes the world, and then a week later another thing will change the world, and like people have to jump from one to the next. And as far as being canceled, man, like it's just inevitable, dude. Like someone's gonna get canceled for something at some point. If you're gonna be a content creator, you're gonna say something, and it's like fuck. Whatever. If they know who you are as a person, then the people who do matter won't judge you for that.
Yeah. And you remember what happened to Logan Paul, right?
Oh,
I mean, that was a big deal. And like
huge deal.
He's killing the podcast game right now.
Yeah. Well, he earned it, dude. Like he put in that work. He earned people's respect back. And I think that's the main reason he's like not only like blown past that apology video, but just completely just left it in the dust. Like it's not even really part of his brand anymore. It's like so far in the past now, on top of all his other achievements, that it's not even a topic. When he goes on other people's podcasts, the topic of Japan doesn't even come up. It's like that far in the past for him because of how much he's done, and he's earned that respect back from people. And I think that's how you do it. You earn the respect back, but also if people know who you are. At that point, when Logan Paul fucked up, people didn't know who Logan Paul was. When I watched those videos in the past, it makes me cringe hard because that's not him. It's a very exaggerated version of a character that he's playing. It's so obvious to me because I'm a content creator, so I've seen that. But the people who don't make content don't think about it like that. But when he started doing his podcast, now he opens up about who he is, what he thinks about things. And so when he makes a mistake now, people aren't just, I mean, the bandwagon people will, but for the people who know Logan aren't just going to say, oh, Logan's this. They're like, okay, obviously Logan's a little bit more complicated than just this one thing he said, you know? So it makes you a little bit more, I don't know, armored up.
Yeah. Yeah. And PH Dre. Yeah, you're right. Also, thanks for the sub. Appreciate that.
Let's go.
But yeah, it's very, very, very impulsive, the NFT space. And that's kind of how Twitter in general works. But I think you do see it a lot in the
Social media, dude.
space.
Social media in general. NFTs
Yeah.
and social media are the same. Like they move the same way.
Yeah.
Hypertension. People forget. Next one, hypertension. Crashes. Next one, and that's just that's where we're at, dude. Like that's just where people are at in their psyche right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of unfortunate in a lot of ways. But
here's an interesting topic.
You see certain projects will get canceled like super easily. I'm kind of impressed that Azuki like came back from.
I don't get it. I do not get that one. Yeah. I don't know how they're still alive. I thought they were for sure dead.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I would cancel them, but I'm kind of surprised that the space didn't cancel. Like they did, but then they still came back, which I thought was I did not expect the comeback.
Same with OK Bears. The founder came out and was like, okay, like I basically not. You probably I don't know. I think he was the guy who had rushed a few projects before. I think OK Bears founder, and people looked at the brands more than they did just this guy's mistakes in the past, and they were like willing to accept that, because I thought OK Bears would crash immediately and be dead on the spot, but they're not. The people still fuck with them. So
yeah. And earlier you were you mentioned how like your focus is really on the content creation and YouTube side of things. And then like Tom, he's starting to like think more business. And we were talking about how I'm kind of in this transition phase, and I feel kind of stuck in between the two. Yeah. And so, and the thing is, I personally do not mind like investing years of my life for no return, because I trust the process and know that there will be exponential growth. But the thing is, like, I don't know if I'm in a position to spend those years of my life, like I do want to start a family soon, and like that's important to me. And I do need an income to do that. And like, I genuinely believe there is a lot of money to be made, particularly on the NFT agency side of things right now. And there are like so many ways to make money in this space, and like interesting ways, because like I am not motivated by money. I know that for a fact.
We just need it. We just literally need money.
We need money.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of in this weird spot where it's like, leap of faith. Yeah, absolutely. And I know Cade's talked about that on his channel before. That's kind of what this year has been for me. Like this past year, leaving the engineering like 9-to-5 world, I was like so miserable in that. I felt like my soul was just being crushed and rotting away in my cubicle every day. And I say 9-to-5, but it was probably closer to like 8-to-6. And then like coming home with that baggage, it's like I didn't even want to tell my wife about my days, because like I was just so miserable at work. It's the last thing I wanted to talk about.
Exactly.
Now, like she can't hear like the end of it for me talking about NFTs and Web3 and all the interesting stuff I'm learning. And like I was getting paid well as an engineer, but like didn't matter. Like I could not stay there. I needed something sustainable. So I'm trying to find the balance, that sustainability balance between like what is enjoyable and fulfilling, but what also pays the bills. And, it's like engineering paid the bills, definitely. But like the farthest thing from fulfilling for me. Okay, I also want to preface this with, I don't think engineering was the problem. I think it was the toxic work environment that I was in at my particular job. I still love engineering, have an interest in engineering. But the environment I was in was not ideal for me.
Yeah.
Where, you know, on the flip side, like what I'm doing here, like I'm actually getting to connect with people and build really cool things, working with technology and art and all the things that I love. Like this is great, but is it paying the bills? Not yet. And
Yeah,
I'm
it,
kind
it can
of,
take a while, but like there's strategies now. Like there's my friend Matt just put me onto this idea of if UGC creation. I've never even heard of this shit. You basically make content for someone else because they watch your stuff and like, wow, what a great content creator. Then they're like, would you make content for us? Like we'll do most of the work. You just have to film it. And like they'll edit everything too. And like I was like, holy shit, that's a thing. They're like, yeah, like a lot of companies are looking for that. And that's one
yeah,
option. Like you're really good in front of the camera. So like that could be one option. UGC creation. There's a ton of companies
thanks.
out there. They've got I mean, also just the idea how I brought up earlier, like using your platform and saying, hey, I make all these videos about these things. I'm a person in this space. I know these certain people. Like I've had success here. Do you need help with your project? Like I'm willing to jump in. I've got a software development, engineering background. That's something where if you start making videos, like this is something I talk about on my, especially TikTok, but I need to talk about this more on YouTube. Like the audience curation aspect of like when I make videos, they're very much geared toward impressing an older audience. Like they're not really geared toward 14-year-olds who want to flip and make money. That's why the vast majority of my videos aren't 10x coins to buy, 10x NFTs to buy. They're a lot more data-driven, analytic-driven, which most people who watch my channel, like I've got a big portion of my channel is 18 to 24, but just as equal of my population, of my demographic is 30 to 55. Like I have a huge audience from that range, which is super interesting to me. But those people got money and they got opportunities. So I make sure to make a lot of content geared toward them so that they're like, we want to hire this kid. Oh, hold on. Yeah, it looks like one of our audios chopped out. Hold on.
Oh, that was on me. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you hear anything I said though?
Totally heard all of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's super interesting. Yeah, I'm going to check out the average age of my audience because it is older than I was expecting. Yeah. Like, so 81.5% of my audience is between the ages of 25 and 34 years old. Like over 80% of my audience is, older than me. And because I'm 25. And I think that's really interesting. And like, I do want to target an older audience. Like I just, yeah. So yeah. And I also kind of feel like, an appreciation for, the older people that are willing to listen to someone younger than them.
Same.
Like that's, yeah. I mean, and we've got some older people in the audience and like,
Dennis.
I feel honored that there are older people that would be willing to listen to us. And I think that probably takes a lot of humility on their part. At least from my experience, it seems like a lot of older people are, they think their age means that they know more about everything than people younger than them. So like I have so much respect and appreciation for the older people, the 81.5% of people that watch my channel. It's
especially growing up. I remember when people would take me seriously when I was younger. That was like a huge vote of like, just like I felt gratitude toward those people if they're a bit older, especially when I got into after college. I worked at a restaurant, and to be in a place where there's people who are 18 and 40 and they all talk to you like just a human, they don't care about your age. That was like life-changing, that 6 months or that year that I worked there, to be able to speak with people who were way older than me and they didn't treat me like a kid. They were like, this is an adult, this is just a human being. That was huge for me. And I've done the same. Like when I've my friend Nancy, her little brother is 18 or 19. His name's George. Fucking smart as fuck. This kid is so smart. He's a legit dude. He works super hard. He's an entrepreneur. He does all the things but I look up to him. He's literally 4 years younger than me, but I literally treat him like he's older because he knows certain things about life that I don't have any clue about. Like he really understands business. He taught me a lot of stuff about flipping. Like he's the reason I bought my first home gym and flipped it. I never would have had the stones to do that, but one day I saw him doing it and I was like, okay, let me tag along. So I tagged along with him on like basically a ride along. This was humbling actually. He paid me $50 to be one of his movers, to like move all this shit like from a garage to like help him do it.
He's the motherfucker.
He was the guy who made $1,500. I was the guy who made $50, and I was like, oh my god! And so basically, I went with him. We talked about it. He talked about it, and he gave me some tips. 2 weeks later, I went and did the same thing. I hired one of his friends that came with us, paid him $50, and I flipped a home gym, paid $400, flipped it for like $1,800. And I remember because he texted me a few days after that. And he's like, dude, you're like a legit dude. Like that was actually cool as fuck. Like I respect what you did there. And it was weird because he was younger than me, telling me that, and I like I really enjoyed that comment he made. And so that's just an interesting thought.
I love that. Yeah, and that took a tremendous amount of humility on your part to be the grunt worker for a kid who's younger than you.
He knew something I didn't, bro. I gotta respect that.
Yeah, and like they're like, I know for a fact that I can learn something from everyone and anyone. It doesn't matter how old you are. I can learn something from a 4-year-old. Like my wife has a friend and she has some kids, and like her 6 or 7-year-old is teaching me stuff. He's really smart. And there's a lot I can learn from the older generation as well. And you know, there's a lot that I can learn from people my own age, but I think I really don't think age is what matters when it comes to a person's experience and knowledge base. There is a correlation, but it is not the only thing that matters. And like, just like I kind of don't care how many followers someone has. I don't care how old you are. I know there's something that I can learn from you.
Yeah, 100%, dude. That's super powerful. I think. Yeah, expertise over age. I totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree. Actually, here's an interesting thought. To pivot a little bit, what your thoughts are. This will probably be one of the last topics here because I feel this is like a medium-sized topic actually. But your thoughts on Jack Dorsey's comment about building Web 5. Have you heard about that?
Yeah. So I mean, Web 5. I think that's funny how we're just skipping Web 4.
Like, what happened to Web 4?
And maybe the logic. Okay, so this isn't a topic that I have not looked into this in too much detail, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but my limited understanding of Web 5 is that it's kind of fixing some of the problems with Web 3 and using some Web 2 technology to do that. Is that
he's trying to build like a social media world where it's actually the companies don't own all your like your passwords. They don't know your passwords. They don't know all your stuff, and you have control over your social media. It's weird to me though, because I'm like, someone has to build a platform, and like, how is it like? Does anything that's truly, you know, actually decentralized, like Bitcoin's like the only one I could think of that's actually decentralized. Like what, like, is that even possible to have something that's being run? There's algorithms involved. Like who's going to make them if it's decentralized? And like, there's so many factors that I don't understand, like, cause I don't know how that is built, but his idea is cool. Cause I'm like, I like that idea. I like to have ownership of it, but it's also that idea of like, people want ownership of their own, you know, like not your keys, not your money or whatever people say, until something goes wrong. And they're like, fuck, someone fix this. Like, well, that's on you actually, because there's no bank. You chose not to have a bank, you know? So
exactly.
It's tough.
You take on much more responsibility in Web3 and these decentralized systems, but you have a lot more freedom. And so what's the big difference between Web3 and Web 5? Because that sounded a lot like Web 3 to me, what you were describing.
Well, he's focusing on social media right now. Web 3 is more, I guess Web 3 is more just focused on the blockchain, the smart contracts and stuff. I think what he's trying to focus on with Web 5 is like focus on the social media aspect, because maybe he thinks that it's still going to be like how Meta is trying to take over. Like if Meta takes over the metaverse, that ain't decentralized. That's Mark Zuckerberg's world again, and it's just going to be Web 2 again. I think he's really trying to make it something else. But
yeah, well, if that is the case, I think that's pretty cool. It's weird because fully decentralized systems, in my view, are not very efficient. And I think partial decentralization might be it has some advantages if you are trying to create these platforms, like you said, like, well, who's going to create the platform? I think maybe having a centralized system create the platform, but building it in a way where value and control is distributed to the consumers. And maybe the consumers don't make all the decisions, but maybe they make select decisions where, because people who get paid the big bucks, they're paid because they're thinkers and they make important decisions. And that's what they get paid for. So I don't know if passing those types of decisions on to the people in a decentralized system is what is best for that system. And maybe there's some sort of filtration process or selection process where part of the system, maybe the more centralized side of the system makes key decisions, and then there are certain decisions that are passed through that onto the decentralized portion. So just a concept that I have of partially decentralized systems. I think the main benefit of that is that it improves efficiency, and decisions will actually get made and progress will be made. Whereas in fully decentralized systems, I think things will probably move a lot slower.
Yeah.
So pros and cons to both, and that goes for everything really. There's I can't think of a lot of things that are only all good or all bad.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's interesting. I think, and the whole meta creating the metaverse. I don't know if I like the sound of that. I don't know if I want to be hanging out in the metaverse and then just have an ad pop up in front of my face when I'm trying to talk to someone, or
that might be inevitable. I don't know how it's going to work, because like someone's got to make money somehow, and like I don't know how it's kind of like it's kind of like seeing the internet right when it happened and trying to predict what Instagram would look like when like the first fucking website was made. So it's not even gonna look anything like we think. It's probably not. Ads aren't going to run like they do now, where you jump up on a website and 14 ads roll up in your face. It'll be kind of different. Like maybe you're walking around in the metaverse and there's a billboard over there or something, like, and that one has the sign, like that's the way ads work out there, or it's totally fucking different. Like I have no idea. But the idea is definitely there. And I agree with your idea of thinking maybe not every decision is made by the people. It's kind of like DAOs, how they're run right now. It's fucking ridiculous. I think like to think you can run a business with a bunch of random ass people who buy your NFT, and like none of them are qualified to make decisions, and they're all just voting based on like what can bring them the most money. Let's be honest. It's unbelievable. I'm like, what do you like? They don't know anything. Like, well, they want to do this. It's like, okay, well, they don't know how to run a business. They don't know that this makes cash flow and this doesn't make cash flow. Like, how are they going to run this thing? It's going to just be dead in 3 months when they run out of funding. It's just like,
right. Yeah,
that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. And like maybe there are a handful of people in that DAO who are qualified, but they're just a minority in the DAO that, are there just
one little thing. One little thing in their life. It's not like they're focused on that, like you are if you're the builder of the project, right?
Yeah.
So that's a tough fucking concept right there.
It is, and I totally agree. It's hard to predict what things are going to look like. People thought the internet, Web 1, like they didn't understand why is it any different than radio? It's like you're just receiving information in a different format, but man, it has changed our world.
Yes, dude.
And I don't know if Web3 will have the same magnitude of impact on our world, but it might, and it's hard to say because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah,
but that's what's kind of exciting about it, is like discovering the new technologies and applications for those technologies. And that's where the opportunity is. And an opportunity comes from identifying problems. So finding problems with our modern systems. And if we can leverage Web3 to fix those problems, there's a lot of money to be made there as well.
100%.
So,
100%.
But interestingly, a lot of people view Web3 and NFTs as a way to make money. And I don't think that's the best perspective to have, because what NFTs really do is they distribute wealth and value back to the holders. So if that's the case, what's incentivizing Web2 companies to implement these NFTs if it's might even negatively affect their bottom line?
Yeah.
And I could be off there, but I think figuring out how to market NFTs to and Web3 technology to these Web2 companies is an interesting problem. And what is going to incentivize these companies to implement this technology? And maybe the top companies aren't going to be incentivized because they're already making all the money. But maybe it's maybe the B tier companies.
Well, they get that upfront funding, right? Like it's basically like VC funding. They get all that money from the mints. But then
Yeah.
the problem is all the people who minted expect a return. They're like, well, I gave you money, like give me money back. And like, that's how they think because it's a gambling world right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in a few years it'd be different. Like I had a guy who responded to one of my NFT videos on TikTok and he was basically trying to debunk it. And he was like, well, why, like, what's the point of doing an NFT when you could just use the system we have now? It's like, well, if you're using NFT technology and the narrative of NFTs as it is today, you're right. There is no fucking reason. Right now, it's just gambling. Like that's like it's ridiculous right now. Why? I mean, companies who are jumping in now are jumping in to just be early and just figure out what's going on. That's why they're doing it. They don't. A lot of them don't have a grand plan yet. A lot of them have no idea what they're doing, obviously, because they botched their launch. But they're not doing it in the right time. That's why I haven't dropped my collection. I've made videos about this many times. Like, why haven't you done a project? I'm like, well, I can't fucking give you what you want right now. And I don't have any interest in giving you that either. Like, I don't want to like give you money back and I don't want you to follow me because of that. Right.
I love that. And I've actually had the same dilemma. Like I could launch a project at any moment if I wanted to. But a lot of people don't even know what they want out of their project other than just to make money. So like, if they're buying your NFT just to make money from it, I mean, I don't know. Like that's, for one, that puts a lot of pressure on the team behind the project.
Limits your freedom, limits everything, especially in the beginning of our journeys. Like I have no interest in tying myself down yet. I'm like, I have NFTs, but they're all art pieces. They're all one-of-one self-photography that I put out, but they're just to support me. Like I labeled it as, I'm like, you're not going to get anything. Like you're just going to be able to say you have one of my NFTs when I get to the top of whatever game I'm playing, and it'll be a flex for you. And that'll be my access key. So whatever I end up doing, the coolest benefits will always go to you guys because you guys have my access keys. There's like 50 of them. That's just the way I think. But I was like, I don't want to drop a collection of 10K because I can't do anything for these people. It's just, they're just going to be upset at me. They're just going to be upset. And then I'm going to have this thing on my fucking resume that sucks. And I'm like, I don't want that. Why would I do that to myself? I can just wait till I have money and I have opportunities and resources and things where I can actually do something cool.
Right. And a lot of what we see with the modern alpha groups, as they're called, they're highly dependent on the whitelist flipping meta. And I've helped people make pretty good profits from giving away whitelist spots. Like one of the big ones was for Evereye. A lot of like there was like an ETH profit to be made off that one, and I was fortunate enough to be able to give away some of those spots to my community members. But it was kind of nice, not like, because my group is free. I don't have to, and at that point, I don't even think I started my Discord, so I just raffled them off on Twitter. Nice. Yeah, and it was like there's no pressure, I don't have to please everyone in my community, and I mean there is freedom with that. And I kind of, there are a lot of people in these alpha groups, and I'm not bashing the groups, and I think a lot of these founders are awesome, and they've done some really cool stuff, and they work really hard.
Yeah, and they do want to help. Like I know they want to help.
Yeah, and I've been in a lot of alpha groups. Like the first one I bought was Plug Pass, Kosher Plug, and then I mean he's great, and Champ.
I've heard Champs is good, dude. I know a lot of people in Champs. I heard Champs is probably one of the best.
Yeah, I minted 3 of those, and
nice.
I was kind of I flipped 2 of them like right away for I don't know, probably not much profit. But yeah, I think like people like Champ and Kosher and like people who are known for their alpha groups, I think they've worked really hard, and they've done a great job with what they've done, but it's just, are those groups sustainable? I don't know. I mean,
it's going to depend on how good they are at navigating the waves and bringing value whenever they can. It just sucks because like some people have paid probably 2 ETH to get into there, and they're like, "Fuck, I'm not even getting the value out of the 2 ETH." That scares me because I don't want them to look at me as someone who's going to give them stuff. I don't want, like, this is the only industry where people get followers by giving them shit for free and like buying, essentially. Like I see no difference between whitelist giveaways and paying for followers. It's the same. Like that's why I do them as rarely as possible. There's the same thing. You just buy, and plus they don't even know who you are. They don't care who you are. They're just following you to get that, and your number goes up, but it doesn't help you. It doesn't really, it helps your engagement a little bit maybe, but they don't give a shit. And like those kind of followers don't end up doing anything for you anyway. So it really is about the people who know you. And so it's just, I don't know. That's just the way I think about it. But.
No, I think you're right. You see someone who, maybe they get an imaginary one's whitelist spot, and then they post a Twitter giveaway, and then they have 50,000 followers the next morning. And that looks cool. Like you have 50,000 followers, but how many of those followers actually care about you? And I'll admit, like, I probably have a good portion of followers and subscribers that only follow me to make money and don't actually care about me. But that makes me appreciate the ones that genuinely do care about me, like, so much more. And I care way more about quality than I do quantity. Unfortunately, like, when you're looking at branding yourself and scaling as a business, quantity, it takes a lot longer, and quantity is really important. And that's kind of the approach I was taking, because I was going to launch I don't even want to call it an alpha group, but I think that's kind of the term that most people are familiar with. But just like a Web3 enthusiast group is probably a better way of putting it. And like, I'll give you whitelist spots and stuff, but I was thinking about launching that, but I was going to wait until I had like a much more substantial following before doing that. And it just takes a long time when you are trying to grow organically. And like, now that a lot of the people in this space aren't interested as much as they were when the opportunities were abundant. I still think opportunities are abundant, but just not to the degree that they were in the NFT flipping scene that they were months ago. Like a lot of those followers and subscribers just aren't engaging with my content anymore. And that's totally fine. Like they can do whatever they want. And like, I know they have their own lives and priorities, and I don't fault them for that, but it is cool to see the people that can like regularly engage with your content. And I don't know if you've experienced that, like you have like a handful, or maybe it's more than a handful, but just like people you recognize that are consistently coming back to your content.
Pretty much everyone who's in here right now. I was saying, there's people who are in here who watch my podcast. They are avid watchers, and I fucking love all of them. It's so cool seeing them.
I think that's what's meaningful. It's the people.
I agree.
And I think investing in people is really, really important. But
100%, dude. I totally agree with you. Honestly, it's a great point.
Thanks. Where were we?
Well, honestly, that segues into my last question perfectly. I was gonna ask, what do you want to be your legacy? What do you want people to remember you by and think about you?
So I mean, I'm not really, I wouldn't say I'm huge on legacy, if you mean like after you die.
No, I mean, what do you want people to say behind your back when you're not there?
Well, I mean, I want people to be honest. Like, I love and appreciate honesty. Like, if I could be doing something better, I want you to tell me. I'm not going to be offended. I actually appreciate it, like constructive criticism. I'm sure you've gotten comments as well on videos where they just like they give you negative feedback, but it is in no way constructive.
Yeah.
And that's not helpful.
It's not
But
helpful
give
for anybody.
me some constructive criticism. Like
Yeah.
if people behind my back were to say anything about me, I hope it's something that they could feel comfortable saying to my face.
Yeah.
And in person, like, because you can say a lot behind a keyboard.
Always.
Yeah, but and a screen. But I hope I hope I'm seen as someone that just has a genuine care for people, and that like I know I don't know you, because people are so complicated, and there's a lot about people that we'll never understand, even about ourselves. But I just hope that they know that I care about them, and they matter. You're a valuable and loved human.
Fuck yeah, dude. Legend. Absolute fucking legend.
That's I just want people to know that. So that's pretty much it. I hope people recognize me as someone that that views them that way. And I think that's about it. I don't really care what people say about me, or think about me, just because I know me more than they know me. Mm-hmm. And they can, they could say something, and maybe it's very logical from their perspective, even if it's negative, but maybe they just don't see the full picture. So
sure.
And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Like people could say really good things about me that maybe aren't true. So it goes both ways. But
hell yeah, man, that's a great perspective, because you're right that not everyone knows all the details. That's why even if it's good criticism, but if they don't know the full picture, then there's a reason that I did it a certain way that they just don't know, because they just aren't aware.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You don't always need them to know.
Yeah, I've had one of the things that's kind of frustrated me a little bit lately is people in the space that like I've talked to just to like connect with, and like let them know like, hey, like I'm here, what's up, and just kind of like connect. And then they go in and start telling me what I need to do and how I need to do it, and they don't understand me or my situation at all.
Yeah.
Like people don't know, like I do have a life outside of the Web3 space, and like that is a priority of mine. And maybe I can't afford to do some of the things that you think I should be doing right now. And
exactly.
So I think one thing is just like try to understand someone and listen to someone before you tell them like what they should be doing or imposing your views. And I'm happy to listen to people. Like I never want to throw anyone's advice out the window. Like I welcome all of it. But I think it would be nice if people would just, in general, take a moment to understand the person you're talking to before telling them what they need to do with their life.
Yeah, man, 100%. Yeah, it's kind of like when they shift their own baggage onto your own stuff, and that just comes through fucking testing yourself, facing yourself, taking chances on you. And I think the more you do that, the more you realize that it don't matter, bro. Like none of the other stuff matters. Like it just matters how you feel when you're by yourself. If you're alone and you hate everything about it, that's not good. That's something you should probably remedy. Not focus on what Elon Musk is tweeting. And kind of focus on what can bring you some more peace inside. And honestly, dude, this is a fucking legendary podcast. I did not expect to go in this direction nor this length, and I'm so glad it did.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. I had a ton of fun just hanging out, and I know I derailed the conversation a lot away from the Web3 space, and I
Totally
talked
fine,
about
man.
myself a lot, which I try to avoid, but I guess I was the guest, so I
Yeah,
get
man.
a free pass there. But
yeah, dude, like I said yesterday, I wanted it to be about you as a person.
I appreciate that, and it gave me an opportunity to kind of open up. I haven't told my followers like much about me, so maybe a couple of them will watch the full thing and kind of get to know both of us a little bit better.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, like I genuinely appreciate you inviting me on the podcast and giving me the opportunity to speak. And it just means a lot. I love what you're doing. what you're building, and I'm really excited to see how the Joyage kingdom continues to grow.
Thank you, bro. Hey, listen, Caleb, it was a pleasure talking to you. Again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for spending a couple hours with me chatting about life. That was good for me. I haven't had one of those life talks in a while, so that felt really good, honestly. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone who's listening, especially. I know there are some of you who are here since literally the beginning. So if you were here, you guys know the code word so that I know. Code word, fuck. I mean, I guess we gotta do donut. I know it's cliche, but I feel like there's no choice here. So we'll do a code word donut. So thank you guys for being here. If this is not your first episode with us, this is not your first episode of the Joyage Kingdom podcast show, then I want to see OG spam in the chat. You already know I want to see OG spam in the chat. Yeah, smash like in this video, subscribe to the channel. I have Caleb's stuff down below in the description if you want to check his YouTube, his Twitter. It's all down below. And yeah, guys, thanks for being here. Until next time, continue on your Joyage, continue to learn, and be grateful you're alive watching this video. Bye.